So I'm Brian Martin. I'm the Executive Director at the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission. We've been working for 2+ years with ODOT on what we've been calling the Greater Region Mobility Initiative. We are surface transportation planners for this region. And I just wanted to welcome everybody to this Zoom call. I've got a short slide deck here just to orient everyone on MVRPC. I think of those on the call so far, Preble County is definitely a member in the Regional Planning Commission, along with Miami, Montgomery, Greene, and Northern Warren. So we're about 80 members, 80 delegates in our board of directors. Back in the good old days when we could meet like this, side by side, we would have at least 65 every first Thursday in our meeting location, which is at the Dayton Board of Realtors. We would take 2 of their training rooms for our meetings. We're definitely focused on the overall region, and you may see some familiar faces here in this shot. We're all elected officials. We're about 55 local governments, all elected. So mayors, council members, et cetera, are the decision makers. We also have associate members that are partner agencies from across the Miami Valley region. Next. Just a little bit about MVRPC. Our annual operating budget's about $5.5 million. Mostly it's federal gas tax that funds us. We provide a lot of grants for projects to various transportation projects, be it bus and van replacement. You may know us for the 5310 program and replacing vans. But within our core 3 counties, Montgomery, Miami, and Greene, in Northern Warren, we also fund surface transportation projects, roads, bridges, bus replacements, things like that. And then in the last year or so, we've expanded our funding resources and projects that we work on through foundation dollars through the Dayton Foundation. We're working on the disaster recovery project process, the rebuilding of the Miami Valley as a result of the Memorial Day tornadoes that hit Memorial Day 2019. So we just have been at this for more than a year, and we're just trying to rebuild those communities that were hardest hit by the tornadoes. We're also working on an institute for equitable and livable communities, again, with the foundation. The disaster recovery work is with Montgomery County commissioners primarily. And the EDA there, Economic Development Administration, the federal Department of Commerce department. We're about 24 staff members. I think this was a Go Red for Women Day. About half the staff are here, and we did this last year. About $18 million in capital grants are what our board makes decisions on each year. We usually have a fall solicitation cycle. We usually award those and make announcements for those projects in February. Next slide, please. Sorry. So mostly we're transportation planning, as I said. This is the map. I've really already gone through this, but for the MPO area, it's Miami, Montgomery, Greene, and Northern Warren counties. We pick up Preble County because they're a member of the Regional Planning Commission. And Darke County, we pick up because of our area-wide water quality planning grant that we have through the state and federal EPA. Next. 4 goals, very straightforward. We're a 56-year-old agency, by the way, but our 4 goals usually are regional stewardship, vibrant communities, partnerships, and sustainable solutions and environment. Next. So we do transportation beyond our core counties, and that's what I wanted to just remind everyone. We are the advocate for Miami Valley Trails here in the region. We produce the regional bike map. Everyone wants to be a part of the nation's largest paved trail network. It's a 330 plus mile system, and we just printed the new map. This is the old graphic. There's also a website called Miami Valley Bike Trails. Next. So yeah, we're accustomed to working across many jurisdictions beyond our core counties, and everyone wants to be a part of our tremendous regional asset, our trail network. Next. And this just shows how it looks when you lay it all out and see how you can see how well it's connected. You've got the north-south routes that certainly the Great Miami River, the banks along that river form trails, along with some critical east-west connections as well that expands the region. You can get to the into the northern Cincinnati suburbs. You can get north to Bell Fountain. You can get east to Columbus. There's a trail now that's connected between the Miami Valley as well as Central Ohio. And we're always looking to get west into Indiana and to connect to their trail networks as well. But we do have some gaps, and we work over this on this over time. But it's great to see the history destinations laid out with our trails network, and travel and tourism is what this network is all about. Next. And certainly the 5310 program with Human Services Transportation, that's a quarterly group that meets to talk about needs, kind of like you have been over the last couple of years with regard to the greater region, to talk about all the driver issues, the funding issues, insurance issues, all of that, and to find solutions. Next. And this is just another slide that talks about our core counties, Greene, Miami, Montgomery, and Northern Warren for specialized transportation. And so we do a really good job at this. And I think that's why we started talking with ODOT about the Greater Region project. Next. We're also the rideshare affiliate for this region. Another example, another tool in the toolbox is ride matching and just trying to get people to commute together. Obviously, COVID-19 has affected everything. It would be hard to imagine 4 people in a car or 12 people in a van anymore. We have to reinvent those modes, I think, because of COVID-19. Next. We have an awesome team, and you've gotten to know these ladies. I think we're on our 3rd incarnation of staff for this project. We've been very fortunate to find staff. I think we have a wonderful staff now, led by Stacy Swikart. Stacy's been with us for about a year. Elizabeth Baxter, maybe 9 months for Elizabeth, maybe a little bit high. Maybe it's more like 7 months for Elizabeth. And she's the primary person that's managing this process. And she is supported by Serena Anderson. I think Serena's been with us about 3 months. Serena is heading up the 5310 and the HSTC process within the urban area, but she'll be backing up Elizabeth, and then Elizabeth will back up Serena on the MPO 5310 work. So I just wanted to provide everybody with a brief overview of MVRPC. We're pleased to be working with you, and if you ever need any help, these are the people that can help you. But today we want to roll out this plan and talk a lot about coordination among District 2. So I'll turn it over to, is it Olivia or Macy or Chuck?
Hey everyone, my name is Olivia Hook. I'm the statewide mobility coordinator in the Office of Transit. I'm going to go ahead and talk to share our slides in that part of it, and then at the end we'll see if Chuck or Macy would like to chime in and have anything. I'm the project manager for the Regions project, and I'll explain to you a little bit more about that as these slides progress. So the ODOT Office of Transit is the Rural and Small Urban County Authority for federal FTA funds. That's Federal Transportation Administration. We provide funding grants in the area for rural counties for public transit, human service transportation. That would also include coordination projects and mobility management. Chuck is the administrator. He's on the call as well. We also have Macy Moore, who is the program manager. She's the public transit manager. And then you have myself, who is the statewide mobility coordinator. So we are really happy to have everyone together on this call. There's a lot of stuff that's been happening, and we're excited to talk to you guys about it. And we really would love to see how we can bring everybody together for the support on this. So can you move on to the next slide? Okay, so you may be wondering, what is a coordinated plan? I'm going to summarize that for you in a nutshell. And yeah, okay, so a coordinated plan is it's actually a document that identifies unmet transportation needs in the area. Those identified unmet needs are done through a process that includes elderly individuals and individuals with disabilities. The plan is also a requirement to become eligible for some of the funding I mentioned earlier about the Office of Transit. When it comes to federal funds, there has to be a plan that it goes through those correct processes, and it has to go through the proper adoption process for approvals on a local scale so that we can implement the grant and fund those projects that are in the area. The slide that you see here is a timeline of how much Ohio has advanced in the past, just 13 years. In 2007, the coordinated plan was, was rolled out on a national scale. And in 2017, Ohio at ODOT, we basically in Ohio wanted to implement a standard because although the coordinated plans would look unique and all of the information wasn't consistent from one county to the next. So we implemented a timeline in 2017, a timeline of a template, and in 2019 we implemented the regional coordinated plan process. So that regional coordinated plan process has gotten that national awareness basically for this pilot region program, mobility management, and the strategy for advancing coordinated plans for all counties in Ohio. So I just wanted to bring that up because the coordinated plan is a critical document to apply and be eligible for funding. But what is happening in Ohio with advancing it to the regional level is getting national awareness right now because it is so efficient. And one other thing I wanted to touch on is that not every county in Ohio has a coordinated plan. Those plans take a lot of work. There's a lot of manpower, a lot of hours that go into it. There's a lot of strategies and different individuals at the table. And not every county has the ability to take the time to create a coordinated plan so that they can become eligible for the additional funding that it brings into their county. So there are counties today that do not have coordinated plans. I can tell you that one of the region pilot projects on the east side of Ohio, when that pilot project started, it was a 9-county radius, and there were 6 counties in that region that did not have a coordinated plan. And within a year of that region being implemented, they had full 100% coverage for coordinated plan. And they have, I can't give you numbers because I really don't have those off the top of my head, but now there's extra funding going into that region, and there's additional projects and coordination because of it. So this region the pilot project that you're probably maybe hearing about just now, or that I'm going to be talking more about, is very important in Ohio, and it's going to have so many impacts and benefits in your region. A few things I do touch on. The grant that is a requirement for the coordinated plan is a requirement to become eligible for this grant that I was relating to, and it's called 5310 Specialized Transportation Program. That is for the vehicles that are accessible for individuals with disabilities and for seniors. That grant would be, actually, it could fund the purchase of those kind of vehicles to transport individuals. It also makes you eligible, agencies eligible to apply for funding, grant funding for capitalized maintenance and operating assistance. Mobility management is another buzzword that is very strong in this region. And mobility management, the coordinated plan is a requirement to have a mobility manager program also for that grant. So it's a very important document. It does tie into the family of plans when it goes under the MPO, where the STIP and the Statewide Improvement Transportation Plan. So it does go hand in hand, and it's all in a lot of the circulars that you would see with the federal transportation grant requirements. So let's go on to the next slide so I could talk a little bit about the regional plan benefits. So hold on, let me just make sure I can see your screen. Okay, I want to make sure I'm talking about the right one. I'm looking at my notes too. Okay, so this is an outline of what the regions look like and how we got to this point. I'll explain it to you here in a minute. But basically, the regional coordinated plans are going to be in these defined areas. It looks very similar to the Area Agency on Aging regions, and there's a reason for that, and I'll go to that in a moment. The benefits of the regional coordination that we're talking about today include reducing duplication of the efforts, making county-to-county transportation seamless for those who are using the transportation services that are available to the public, like human service transportation. That's for accessible individuals that need to have that service, or public transportation. This is going to medical appointments, critical transportation for like chemotherapy treatments, stretcher service. And this coordination is for improving consistency between the counties. Next slide, please. Another thing is that these region lines are built upon an existing structure, and we're utilizing existing resources and supports within the community. That's why MVRPC is at the table. You also have Glenn Massey over at TCC, and we have a lot of individuals here today that have a lot of, they've been part of this planning process, and what we're doing today is very important. So the existing structure is what we drew these lines around. We compared it to the travel patterns that we had done an analysis in 2016 through 2017 to understand where the travel patterns of the individuals using public transit would be going for their Medicaid or aging, trips and things like that. The final decision on those lines is exactly like the Area Agency on Aging. I just wanted to reconfirm that because it is very consistent. Next slide, please. This is this is an image of the defined regions, like I was talking about earlier. This is when we started this pilot project in 2018 through current day. Basically, we're leading the way for coordination in Ohio and future planning in the other regions. These two regions are going to be the first in of implementing a lot of new standards as far as, for example, if we're looking to implement something statewide, we would start looking within the regions because they have a strong coordination and committee process so that, looking at something that would be a benefit, we can start with the regions and then go from there. Next slide, please. In addition to that, the other benefits I was mentioning earlier of this regional coordinated plan today are that the transportation providers, and this is all transportation providers, human service transportation providers, public transit, private providers, etc., that everyone can come together in a committee and walk away at least hopefully getting on the same page. And this is within multiple counties so that there isn't a whole lot of, where they can't cross county lines. This has improved effectiveness through planning together on a regional scale, and also to utilize the federal and state dollars for transit with more effectiveness, reducing duplication and frequent adjustments from inconsistencies where agencies might need to scramble because trying to make up for those inconsistencies. There's less confusion for residents who are needing to travel across state, county lines to get to a neighboring county or going to a doctor appointment that might be in Dayton. That gets really difficult if you're coming from Logan County. So this is what that effort is going to try to tackle and meet that unmet need with some solutions to that problem. There's also standardizing what's in the plan and have stronger goals and strategies. And also achieve 100% coverage of coordinated plans in Ohio, making sure every county has a voice and every county is eligible for the potential funding that can come to it.
Olivia talked to you a little bit about how the regional plan could be beneficial from the statewide perspective. And now I am going to talk to you a little bit about how we can actually put this into action in the local level. So as she mentioned before, there is a mix of public transportation providers, health and human service providers, and private transportation providers that we are working with throughout this planning process. And really what we are geared towards, as Olivia just mentioned, is this plan will primarily work with the Section 5310 grant funding that is administered through or provided through the Federal Transit Administration. But what we can do is look at all of the other funding sources additionally that some of these nonprofits receive or public entities receive, and determine how those can best be stretched to provide services to the elderly or individuals with disabilities. And we can also reevaluate some of the services that are provided so we can streamline that and allow for cost-saving measures. This plan will also allow us to identify what needs might not be met by the transit user, and we will be able to focus not only on the provider but really on what the user's needs are and hopefully overcome some of those gaps in services or coordinated duplicated efforts. And then it will also give us the opportunity to leverage the mobility managers that we already have within our region and really use them on a regional level instead of on an individual level and service some of those counties that may not be benefiting from mobility management services at this time because they don't have a mobility manager. And the work that those mobility managers are doing within our region is extremely critical to connecting our transit users with options that are available throughout the entire region, as well as teaching them how to utilize their transit. Because for a lot of elderly individuals or some people, it may be intimidating and they don't know where to start. So those mobility managers can really overcome that challenge for a transit user. And as Olivia mentioned before, the original intent or the original design of the boundaries were identified through the Area Agency on Aging pre-established boundaries based on travel patterns. And with that, it included Logan County within our original Region 2, as we have become to known, or the greater region. The other counties that are included in that are Preble, Darke, Shelby, Miami, Montgomery, Greene, Clark, and Champaign. After a little bit of evaluation, Logan County had determined that some of their travel patterns and the flow fit more in line with what you see on the screen as Region 6, or maybe you know as Central Ohio or the Greater Columbus region. So they worked with ODOT to facilitate a process to transfer into Region 6. And what I'd like to point out is this doesn't make Logan County exempt from participating in an actual regional plan process. They're just going to be doing it in a different area. And that's to note for all of the counties that are coming online or are already in pre-established regions or will be in two regions, that at some point or another, every county in the state of Ohio, regardless of what region you're stuck in, you will have to participate in this regional coordinated effort. So Logan County is still going to be very much a part of work that we do within Region 2, even though they have transitioned someplace else. You know, they have a lot of travel that happens into Shelby County or along the 68 corridor down into Champaign and Clark County. So we will be looking for opportunities to partner with them on ways to enhance transportation that's coming to and from Logan County throughout the rest of our region. It's also important to understand that there are a few counties within our Region 2, Miami, Montgomery, and Greene, that we have prohibited from transferring into a different region because of how the Section 5310 funding flows to those specific counties. So unfortunately, they are not able to move, but you know, we think that there's some great opportunity for them to enhance some of the work that's being done here within some of our rural counties as well. Okay, so to better understand how the region funding works and what that means to our urban counties and our rural counties that make up the entirety of Region 2 or the greater region, MVRPC, as the regional coordinating agency of this program, is recommending that our entire Region 2 be split into subregions. And this is because the money for the 5310 grant program that is administered or given out from the Federal Transit Administration flows through governmental agencies to be allocated or awarded to counties and transportation providers. So those two governmental agencies within Region 2 are the Ohio Department of Transportation and Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission. So the Ohio Department of Transportation, they primarily award Section 5310 funding to rural counties, and the urban and small urban counties are traditionally, those funds are traditionally dispersed through an MPO such as MVRPC. So you will see the darker counties, the darker green shade is subregion 2A is what we are recommending. That's Preble, Dark, Shelby, Champaign, and Clark. And those individuals will be receiving their funds directly from the Department of Transportation. And then subregion 2B is Miami, Montgomery, and Greene County, and they will be receiving their 5310 allocation through MVRPC as the funding agency. So we are hoping that this helps to identify or clarify how the funding structure works. And it's also important to keep in mind that funds which are allocated from the 5310 program to rural counties cannot be reallocated to the urban or small urban counties such as Montgomery or Greene, and vice versa. Money that is allocated specifically for the 5310 program for Miami, Montgomery, and Greene cannot be reallocated and given to any of the rural counties. And we also understand that, you know, there's other benefit that can be had by breaking into subregions, not only for funding structure, but because we have a lot of challenges that are happening to provide transportation, especially in this day and age, to our transit users. And while some of those issues or challenges might be the same in rural counties and urban counties, the way that you overcome those challenges or meeting some of the requirements to, you know, address those issues might be very, very different in Shelby County versus Montgomery County. So we want to acknowledge that effort and allow for a little bit of flexibility throughout the program for people to counties, transit providers to be able to navigate through their needs. And we think that these subregions will help navigate them. Okay, so it's also important to understand how intra-region travel movement affects this plan too. So the majority of people are traveling within their own counties, within their own county boundaries on a daily basis. But there are a significant amount, as you can see through this map, on a daily basis of travel that's taken outside of a county's boundaries for purposes of accessing, critical medical needs that they may not have in their county, or actually employment. A lot of people cross-county travel for employment. So that's been a big conversation that a lot of our transit providers in rural counties and in urban counties have been having over the last few years, is navigating through cross-county trips and how to provide that connection. And we think that this regional plan can be a part of that effort to overcome that challenge, because sometimes the connector routes that are established for in between rural counties to an urban county, or in between rural counties themselves, they can sometimes be very expensive for the transit user and also confusing on how to navigate that transfer from one transit agency to another transit agency. So I am going to pause here very quickly for any questions to identify that might be in the chat box. Serena, do we have anything that's popped up just yet? I am going to take that as a no and continue on with the presentation.
I'm sorry, Elizabeth. No, we don't have any currently.
No problem. No problem. And like I mentioned, we will have time at the end of the presentation for question and answer for those of you who might be calling in. So as part of the federal requirements for receiving this Section 5310 funding, each county, or now region, has to have a regional council, and NVRPC is going to be the regional coordinating agency that will help to facilitate the quarterly meetings that will be a part of the Regional Transportation Coordination Plan and the requirement to receive this funding. Will also be responsible for leading the annual updates and any four-year revisions that are required, as well as any amendments that might pop up through the plan. We will coordinate and facilitate that with our local counties as well. So ODOT will remain the state funding grantor or state funding agency, the primary funder for the counties that were identified in Region 2A, the rural counties. And then they will also be responsible for providing any type of technical service for grants and programs that are awarded through their Office of Transit. So the Coordinating Council is that requirement that I was just talking about. And they are comprised, our Coordinated Council at this time is comprised of local leadership. We have transportation providers, health and human service providers, different nonprofits, and members representing elderly and the disabled populations. So we have been meeting quarterly on a regular basis to talk about transportation related issues and how we can overcome those issues, and what kind of projects can be established to meet some of those challenges or gaps in service. And we are also going to work in the future to establish a planning subcommittee that will be responsible for assisting the RCA to update that plan for the revisions every 4 years as well. So moving on to the actual goals that we have identified for this plan, to assist in ODOT's vision of meeting the actual regional need and working towards the funding structure that they have set in place, but still trying to capture that local voice and make sure that that local voice of each individual county is heard. We have decided to break up the goals for the plan into regional level goals that will work to meet challenges, gaps, overcome issues that have been identified on a regional basis. So these goals are going to primarily work to benefit the majority of the counties that have been identified in Region 2. The county level goals will then work to overcome challenges and gaps in services, maybe in between one specific county or even two. So it's going to be on a much smaller basis. So for the first regional goal, it's been identified to enhance regional coordination, which will help with the county line transfers that we are talking about implementing. It will explore more opportunities and options for employment transportation as well as non-medical transportation. And we're going to work to see how we can potentially identify and establish a professional driver standard. The second regional goal will work to expand some of the specialized mobility transportation tools that we have in place, and we will work to make sure that options and information is included for all regional transportation for the transit user to be able to identify what service might be best for them. So if they are navigating in between two counties or even one county, they'll be able to go to one space and find all of the needs that are available or all of the resources that are available to them at that point. So then we've identified some county level goals, and like I mentioned, these are going to be done on a much smaller scale. The first county level goal is to expand services, and that could mean expanding transit services for one specific agency or agencies that are making up services only in one county. It can also assist in researching and exploring opportunities for additional technology that might help them schedule rides or might help them manage their system a little bit better. And then we can hopefully work to coordinate cross-agency driver employment opportunities, which might be something where two part-time or two agencies employ people part-time, and that person wants to work for both agencies. So cutting the red tape on how that person might be able to utilize their skills in two separate agencies for transportation. The second county goal is going to work with local coordinated councils to identify opportunities for more funding that might be available or grant opportunities. And they're really going to work to share that information together and hopefully provide services that are more affordable for the passenger. And then the third county goal is really geared towards some of the mobility management work of increasing awareness of transportation services within a specific county. So the mobility managers have the opportunity to meet with different groups individually or provide travel training to specific groups on how to use public transit. And so the next two slides that I'm going to talk about are really how we can take these goals and apply them to some of the strengths and opportunities that we have identified as a region together. So over the last few years, during the coordinated council meetings, the mobility managers, transportation providers, and stakeholders have identified, for example, as a strength, knowledge of demographics and travel patterns. Our mobility managers and transportation providers really have extensive knowledge of this. And what they are going to do is partner that with an opportunity that we have been seeing throughout our region of cross-county coordination in urban counties and rural counties. And so we can meet both a regional goal and a county level goal with those strengths and opportunities by coordinating county line transfers at a regional level and expanding those tools that we have to share information, and as well as the cross-county agency driver employment opportunities. You know, we can really enhance the amount of drivers that we have if we are able to cut red tape and meet the transit users' needs much better. Another opportunity and strength that we have seen and identified within Region 2 is a passion for mission and customer service. And you can partner that with an opportunity to increase local support of transit, of public transit. And those can be met into, again, on a regional level, expanding the awareness of the opportunity that's available for transit in general. And then under the county level goals, we can do that to work to seek more funding opportunities and increase, again, knowledge and awareness of options that are available to the transit user. So with this being said, the Greater Regional Coordinated Transportation Plan intends to replace the requirement of actual individual counties needing a transportation coordination plan. So ODOT is requiring for this for this specific Greater Region Plan in Region 2 that all of the counties in Subregion 2A, which are Preble, Darke, Shelby, Champaign, and Clark County, pass a resolution through the Board of County Commissioners and adopt this specific plan. Now, I want you to understand that the county resolution does not mean that this is a financial commitment on behalf of the county, but it does give all of the transportation providers, including public and nonprofit providers, the opportunity to apply for those Section 5310 grant funds through the Department of Transportation. And I would actually like to invite Olivia or Chuck or Macy to expand a little bit more on why they are requiring that, since sometimes there are nonprofits that might not be directly funded through a Board of County Commission, but yet we're still asking that the Board of County Commission adopt this plan.
Yeah, I'll expand on that. My name's Macy Moore. I am the Public Transit Manager at ODOT. So we are requesting that the county commissioners be looped into this process because we've heard time and time again from local governments that it's important to them that they understand what's happening in their county, that they understand the funding that's flowing into their county. It also allows for that communication on the unmet needs in the county, what's been being discussed in these meetings and stakeholder groups. And it's kind of, once all that work's done, bringing that to the county commissioners and saying, here's the plan, here's everything we discussed, here's what we want to do about it, and making sure that they're looped in on these really critical services in the community. And we don't want them to be bypassed just directly to the state for these projects and funding that really do impact the day-to-day lives of the members of your community. So that's why we instituted this requirement that, especially from a regional perspective, those county governments do not get lost. Because I know that can also be sometimes a fear that, once you bring it even a higher level up, that those local county identities and needs will get lost. And so by implementing this kind of check here with the local governments, we hope that it will allow you an opportunity to express any questions, concerns you may have about what's going on in the region and how it might impact your county. So that's why we really wanted to loop you in and make sure that you had a say in this final plan before it's implemented. If you're a county government, but we also understand that, county governments have a lot on their plate. And if you're a county government that, you work closely with the Regional Planning Commission or mobility manager, or you have a working relationship with people who are involved in the coordinated planning process, you also have the opportunity to delegate someone else in your county to adopt on your behalf. So we're not saying you have to adopt or no funding will come in, but we want to make sure that you have a decision. Yes, we want to adopt, and this is the process we want to take, or we are aware of this process that's occurring in our county, but we want this entity to adopt on our behalf. We want to make sure you're involved in that decision, no matter which way it goes for your county. I don't know if Olivia or Chuck has anything to add to that, or MVRPC, but.
Well, thank you for that explanation, Macy. That I think is very helpful for some of the counties to understand how this relates to them and why we might be asking this of them. So what we are going to do is MVRPC, as the regional coordinating agency, is asking that you review as a county the sample legislation and resolution that we sent to you in this meeting invite, and either adopt that personally by September, or whatever entity that you are delegating or giving authority to adopt this greater regional plan, that entity has adopted the resolution by September. And then what MVRPC will do as a funding agency for Section 5310 for those counties in subregion 2B, our board of directors will adopt this greater region plan on their behalf. So the whole goal is to have each county, however it is determined, whatever agency it is determined, adopt this plan so we can actually move forward and we can put this plan into action.